Yo, what is up, everybody? So, this is like the fucking 15th time since I have tried recording this, and it just never worked. So, if you're listening to this is the third or fourth fucking time I've tried recording this. Without further ado, I'm gonna get straight into it. So, my last interview I did was like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks, I'm not 100% sure, and there was supposed to be a part 2 to that interview that I never really got to talk about, and it was supposed to come out the 30th, but now here we are. Shit happens. The third time went through and recorded it all the way through, and then my dumb ass accidentally deleted it, so I lost the fucking footage. 20 minutes worth of it. So, that's fun. And it was gonna be released on the 30th, but now, if you're listening to this, today is currently, I think, the 3rd. So, yeah, today's the 3rd. If you're listening to this, it's February 5th. So that's fucking great. I left out a couple things on my last interview that I did. And that's talking about music is changing and me breaking down each one of my albums. And I left those out intentionally because I wanted to kind of go into more detail about music is changing, at least. I love making music. I always have, and I always will, and I will always find a way to make music. But what I realize is music is changing, and personally, I'm not a big fan of it. I come from an era where you get few singles, and when the album drops, you're golden for like a fucking while, you know? Weren't really rushing shit, we just wanted good music. And that's where I come from, and that's completely flipped. More people want singles now because they can listen to the singles more and they can get to learn the song. So when the next one comes out, they already knew the previous song, so they have another song to learn, instead of having everything thrown at you at fucking once. Which, I understand, I get it. But also at the same time, it's like, I like albums. I love making albums. But if you want to make it in the, like, industry, if you want to make it underground, like, you got to play by their rules. Their rules are, don't talk about certain things. Promote music a certain way. Make music a certain way. And nobody, in my opinion, is really original anymore. Everybody just kind of copies everybody. Nobody really gives a fuck about the craft or the art, which is kind of fucking annoying. And that's why I don't like many artists. Now, I have a lot of artists that I do like, but there's maybe 2 handfuls of them. When it comes to your medicine, I've always done this. I'll put out a couple singles, and then, back in the day, I put out, a couple of singles, I put out an EP. Couple of singles, put out an EP. Couple of singles, put out an EP. And it was the exact same way when I started making albums, Put out a couple singles, fly away, show, and then a couple of singles, paradise. All right, couple of live shows, couple of singles, Angels with Wings. Live shows, couple of singles, The Abyss. All right, live shows, singles, hourglass. Like, you see what I'm getting at, you know, like, it was always like that. And a lot of people in the main industry, you know, I'm not in the industry, I know my level, like I know my limit, I'm fucking nobody still, you know, but for the following that I do have, genuinely does mean a fucking lot to me, and I want to make sure that anybody who listens to it, listens to my music, you know, is having fun with it, likes it. And for me, it's different because in Your Medicine, I don't have lyrics. It's just more for something like, if you're cruising around, you want to listen to something with no lyrics in it, boom, you put on one of the albums, you listen to it. If you're working and you don't want to, you know, listen to music with lyrics in it, you put it in. Or, you know, like, you're a kid and you're doing homework and you just want something as background noise, fuck it, there's the albums. You know, that's what it's mainly for. But for the people that are, you know, genuinely listening to it, that actually put it on when they're around other people and shit, like, it's fucking great. You know, I appreciate it. But Your Medicine, you know, if I want to reach a more bigger group doing the same thing, then, you know, so be it. You know, I've been thinking about this change for a very fucking long time, and I'm very on the ropes with it. I'm not a fan of it, but when it comes to Your Medicine, with the singles and promoting it, I'm going to still put out this 9th album, and then I'm gonna put out my 10th album. With Your Medicine, with me in general, when I said when I make music, I want to get to my 10th album. That's my goal, to make it to 10 albums. If I make it to 15, okay. If I make it to 20, okay, whatever, you know, but my thing was always 10, because that means that I had enough listeners to listen to the previous albums. I had enough views, I had enough listeners, and I had enough fans to get me to 10 albums. And that was enough. And it genuinely fucking means a lot to me. It really fucking does. And I want to put out my 10th album. And then after the 10th album is when we're really going to start seeing changes. And that's where the music, you know, where music is changing. You know, these people, they put out a single, promote the singles for like, in like 2 or 3 months. And then, you know, they perform them. You know, you listen to them, you get to learn them, and then boom, they put out another single. All right, and then you get to listen to them, they perform them, they put out another single, and they'll do that for around 2 years. And then they'll take, it's basically, think about like Falling in Reverse, right? You know, they put out these singles, and then Ronnie, he dropped the album called Popular Monster. And he made a whole fucking album out of that. You know, he took tracks that were already released, and he put them into an album, and he threw in a couple of new tracks in there that we haven't listened to yet. And a lot of people are doing that. A lot of fucking people are doing that. And, or what they'll do is, they'll take the album already finished, and let's say you have like a 15-track album, they'll put out 7-8 tracks of singles from that album. And then when you listen to the album, you already know all the tracks, so it's like you just got a few to listen to. And then that's where I'm also like iffy about, because it's like, all right, well, we already know these songs. We want new songs on an album. Like, of course, yeah, you know, you get these couple of new ones, but these are previous songs that, you know, we already listened to. We want new shit. But then it's like when you're going to go make a playlist, it's like instead of picking out every song and making a playlist for it, it's like, well, it's already in this album right here. Why go through and put them into a playlist when I can just save this singular album right here? So then it really gets you thinking, because then it's like, fuck, you know, it's like, that makes sense. You know, it makes sense doing it that way. But it's like for the other people that, you know, want new tracks on an album, it's kind of like a fuck you to them. But it's also not, because majority of the time they like those tracks too. So it can be a win-win, it can be a win-lose, it can be a lose-lose. It just all depends how you feel and you look about it. And that's why I say I'm on the fence with it. And tying it all back in, when I hit my 10th album, you know, my 11th album is where I'm going to start doing that. You know, I'm not going to lie to you. Working on this 9th album, you know, it was a pain in the fucking ass, because I feel like I've already done everything that I could do. You know, I know that, you know, I can still find shit to make beats with, and, you know, I can still put shit together a certain way that I haven't done it. Like, no matter what, I'll always be able to make a beat, but the writer's block has been such a fucking bitch to me recently that it's like, I don't know what to do, you know? Like, you know, I also wanted to experiment with some new sounds, and it's like, it was hard for the first time in a long fucking time. I'd probably say since Angels with Wings, the stress, because I needed that album to be fucking perfect. As a Third Time's a Charm, as for Papa, as for the fans, and as for myself, I needed that album to be perfect. And I feel like I need this album to be perfect so I can one-up my last shit. And Eminem said this back in 2002, where it was like, no, it wasn't 2002. No, maybe it was 2002 between 2004. It was, you know, always, you know, being better than your last. Because if your last shit sounds just like your previous shit, like if your new shit sounds like your previous shit, then you're out the door. Like, you know, it's not, and I'm not even paraphrasing, you know, I'm putting it into my own words. He said some shit along those lines, and I'm like, that's fucking real. You know, I don't want my albums to sound the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they all sound the same beat-wise, like, you know, they're not good. They will not be good. It's like, why the fuck am I listening to this version when I have the last album? At that point, I should put out a fucking LP and fucking put 30 fucking tracks on there. And I think it's stupid that people do that, too. Really? Who was it? Was it the fucking, was it the Game that did it? It was somebody that did it. It was the Game and fucking Dolly Parton. But, man, it was, I don't know. I hate that shit, though. No, see, that's too long. Now, see, for collector's edition, cool, yeah, fine, that's fucking great. And then for all the other people that have, like, multiple different fucking covers and collections. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I have deluxes, and I have, like, collector's editions and 5-year anniversary specials. Don't get it wrong, but, like, they're all for, like, their own album. So, like, going through, Fly Away has the deluxe and has the re-release. Paradise has the deluxe, the collector's edition, and the re-release. Okay, so that's already 2 and 3 done. They're two separate projects. Fly Away has, let's see, the deluxe, the collector's edition, the expanded edition, and the 5-year anniversary. All right, that's 4 for 1. That's fucking pushing it. But I wanted to get out the 5-year anniversary, and then there's going to be a 10th year anniversary. There will always be an anniversary for the Angels with Wings. That's for 1 project, all right? Now, see, that's pushing it. I think that, in my eyes, is overkill, but I always want to fucking honor Papa, and I always want to honor that album, so there's that. The Abyss, fucking none. That album was just perfect to just have it as it was. Okay. Hourglass. You got the alternate edition. That's 1, right? You got Home Volume 1. And then you got Home Volume 2. There's no deluxe. There's no expanded edition. There's none of that. There is Home Volume 5. Now, Home Volume 5 is a mix between Home Volume 1 and Home Volume 2. Now, if you guys are new here, you're probably wondering where's 3 and 4. 3 and 4 were a podcast that I was talking about. So, Home Volume 3 was talking about Home Volume 1, and Home Volume 4 was talking about Home Volume 2 on the podcast section of the channel. And I put out the 5th one. So that's its own thing right there. So you can look at it as like its own thing or a collector's edition, whatever the fuck, however the fuck you want to look at it. I look at it as separate shit. So that's completely separate because it wasn't a Home Volume 1 and 2 mashup. It wasn't a Home Volume 1, not remix, fucking deluxe or Home Volume 2 deluxe. It's its own thing. So then it takes us to Death Do Us Part. You got Till Death Do Us Part, and then Till Death Do Us Part again, except it's the alternate edition telling a completely different story. So that is, you know, in my eyes, I think that's fine. But when it comes to these people that take one project and they put fucking 30 tracks, 30 to 31, 32 tracks on an album, and then put out multiple fucking editions, put out 6 extra editions to it with new tracks and tracks taken off and features and tracks without features, it's like, okay, this is too much of a fucking clusterfuck. Because it's like, well, I'm listening to this, like to the average listener that, you know, is like, you know, okay with them. You know, they're a fan of them. They're just an average fucking fan. They're not going to go looking for other tracks. They're just going to see the album. They're going to listen to the album. They're going to miss out on other tracks. Other tracks that when somebody's like, oh yeah, have you heard this? And like, nah, man, like, I didn't listen to that. What the fuck are you talking about? You know, they show you this version. And then somebody else is like, hey, did you listen to that song? And you're like, no, what the fuck is this? And then you go through that rabbit hole. Which I think is fucking stupid. If you want people to see the album and see the tracks, put it all on one fucking album. Even if it is up to fucking 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Or just dumb it down. Have all those tracks in the fucking vault. Put out an 18-track album. Then the next album you can put out 16. And then the next album after that you can put out 18. You know, like... And then while you're getting the money from that, hey, you don't really got to worry about writing anything. You know, take a little mini vacation. But, like, you know, I'll track with that. Because, you know, it's just me talking about how I feel about the music industry. And, you know, how I feel about people, you know. And I feel like if you're gonna do something like that, have it be a mixtape, not an album. Have that be a mixtape, not an album. And going back to my albums, breaking them down, and music's changing. I'm gonna start doing that after my 10th album. And I already said that, but I'm gonna start doing it after my 10th album. And my 11th album is going to be like that. I'm gonna just keep it a band with y'all right now. I'm gonna see what it's like. And I'm saying this now because hopefully most people forget about this. And they're just like, oh, okay, cool. This. Like, this video is gonna be forgotten by then. I'm gonna put out singles after the 10th album, and I'm going to put them on an album with some new tracks thrown in, and we're gonna see how good that album does. If it does good, good. If it don't, it don't. But that's where your medicine is heading. That's what the plan is. That's where we're going with shit. Yeah, man. I just wanted to come on here and say this shit and really talk about it because, like I said, I wanted to have its own video about it, and I didn't want the extra shit to get overshadowed by this topic. Because we're already 21 minutes in, because I have a strong opinion about it. I really do, because it's like, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, they're getting money in their pocket, so I guess something's working, but I just want to let y'all know that there's going to be a switch coming up within the next couple of years, which you might see it a little bit sooner. You know what I'm saying? Like, after I release this Your Medicine 9 album, I'm going to, put out singles, promote those singles, and who knows, even the singles that I'm promoting afterwards, are going to be on the 11th album, like, go as far back as 4 years, I don't know. But yeah, man, there's some big shit coming, big changes. But if you guys have made it this far and you guys are still listening, I fucking love you guys so much. Like, it genuinely does mean a lot to me. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one. See you guys later. Goodbye. Let's hope this one stays. Oh, fuck.